we're going to continue and then add some resources. So that's what we're going to do today. So far, we have scheduled, we have given the duration, we have given the dependencies. So predecessors have been given for each one of these tasks. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to allocate some resources, right? So the resource names are here, but we do not have any resources allocated to this. All right, so go to resources and then click on resources. Okay, so I went to resources here and then I clicked on resources. So when I click on resources, you can see that it again, it's like an Excel worksheet. So all you got to do is you just have to enter the resource name and things like that. All right, let's go and add some resources here. And it's going to be a work. So there are two types, work and material resource. So it's going to be work resource who will be performing work, right? And the initials, and let's say the group is project team, and maximum units 100% allocated. This person is 100% allocated, and then standard rate $100 per hour, and then $120 per hour, and prorated. Okay, some units we might pay upfront. That is, you start here. Sometimes you pay at the end of the work, but here it's going to be prorated. So as the work is done, as the resource is consumed or per hour, we're going to charge every hour. We're going to charge $100 for this resource. All right. So moving on to the next one, where all right, so once you are done with adding resources, you have to go back to the Gantt chart. So to do that, go to View, then you go and click Gantt. So now the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to go to the task. So click on the task menu right at the top. Now from here, you have an option to go and assign resources. See here, there is an option called assign resources. So that's what we're going to use. Now make sure you select the task. So this is task I'm selecting. So I'm selecting identify existing skills, right? Now once you select the task, if you go and click assign resources, now it should say task 2 here, right at the top. It should say task 2. And then I can allocate resources hands hawk into that, right? I added hands hawk as a resource for that task. I'm going to check. So next, what we're going to do is we are going to assign 2 tasks, right? So I'm going to assign this one, and let's press Control and select the next one. One more time. So allocate this, both of these 100% and assign. Now it has come to 1.5 days here and 7.5 days here, depending on how you assigned it. Okay. So that's because it is thinking that the schedule engine is thinking that if there were 3 days here, so if 2 people allocated, then it can be done in of the time. So that's what is happening there. 3 days is divided by 2 because there are 2 people working. And then 15 days is divided by 2 because 2 people is working here. So the total duration comes down. Now, sometimes you may not like this, okay? So maybe you want the initial duration to be 3 days if 2 people works on it. You're going to go and change this 1.5. We want to keep the number of the duration same, but we want 2 people to work on that. So go ahead and change this to 3 days back. And then over here as well, we change the duration to 15 days, back to 15 days, so that we still are having 3 weeks to work on developing training document. Depends on how you have been planning. Okay, initially when you're planning itself, you might have thought, okay, this work should be done by 2 people, and then it will take in total like 15 days. So if that's how you have planned it as a project manager, so you can just go and change that, right? And then for develop contract, I'm going to go and allocate one of the resource here, right? So here we'll allocate for develop contract, interview trainers, right? So we are going to go and allocate George Booth. So I'm going to say assign resource and then allocate George. And then I assign George for that. All right. And then I'm also going to assign the manuals here. Okay, so I'm going to say we're going to train like 10 people. I'm going to allocate 10 manuals, right? So here you can see that manuals 10 assigned. So that means I'm allocating, let me close this and let me try expanding this, right? So you can see that I am allocated 50%, and then Hans is allocated 50%, and then there are 10 manuals, right? So there is a problem. Now there is another reason for the confusion, could be the staffing calendar that we have added here. Because this training happens only 4 hours per day. It's not happening 8 hours per day. So the next thing what we're going to do here is we are going to go and add allocations for each one of these. So secure lab space, schedule class, and conduct training, right? So these 3 will be allocated to you. So here you're going to allocate, assign resources, and then you're going to add yourself working on this 100%. Okay, make sure it is 100%. And then yeah, make it 100% and then click assign. All right, so we have allocated tasks for all of them. I mean, resources for all of these tasks. So we also added manuals. So we're done with resource allocation. Okay, so if you double click on this, you can see that 3 days, and then the work you're doing is 24 hours. Okay, so there's the difference between duration and work. All right, now you can go and check the overall project cost. Okay, so to do that, you go to File and then click on Information. Now this is showing the information for the entire project. So the name of the project manager is this, and then starting date and ending date, all of that is shown there. Now let's go and look at statistics. The very next tab here is statistics. Let's go and click on that. Let's look at the statistics. The duration of the project is 31 days. start date and finish date is shown here. Duration of the project is 31 days. And then the work involved, 108 hours in total. Okay, and the total cost of the project is also given here, because you have allocated resources and then you have, given cost for each of the resources, and then you have allocated resources for these tasks. Now you can see exactly how much this project is going to cost. All right, so while we are here, let's take a look at some of these allocations, right? So if you go to resources, let's take a look at resource usage. Now the resource usage shows you how each resource is used. Now you can see right at the top here, we have hands, and then hands is working 8 hours. Starting from the start of the project, hands is working 8 hours. So you can see identify existing skills running for 2 days. He's allocated 8 hours for both of these tasks. And then identify needed skills running for 24 hours there. That's the work. Okay, so running for 3 days here, allocated to that. And then he's also allocated develop training documentation. So here he's allocated for like 15 days. So that's right there. And then thereafter, he's not allocated, right? And then George Booth is also allocated to identify needed skills, right? 8 hours along with hands. And then he's also allocated develop training. So that is also shown here. And then after that, I think Booth is just allocated for develop contract and interview trainers. And after that, he's not allocated. It's just you. So you can see how it is allocated. Now it's just 2 hours. Because of the staffing calendar, you have hire trainers allocated for 2 hours for hands, and then 2 hours for yourself. So it's 4 hours in total you're working on hire trainers. That's it basically, right? So because of the staffing calendar. But you also have a restriction that each one of you is working 50% on the task, right? So you can see that 2 hours, 2 hours. So it's okay, and the rest of the work is done by only you. So here, schedule lab space, schedule classes, and conduct training is allocated like this. So now this gives a nice view of who is working on a task on a particular day. So as a project manager, if you want to just see on a particular day who is doing what, you can come to the resource usage and then check how people are allocated to different tasks. Okay, so I'm just going to close this resource usage now and go back to Gantt chart.